All right. Hi, everybody. This is Tiara International, and it's Friday. So we're doing our Friday Facebook Live. You might have caught a little pre-technical banter there as we all are looking at a screen that we don't always look at together because we're together.
Instead of looking at each other on the screen,
exactly.
looking at each other
right.
on the screen.
So the three of us, Tiara International, for those of you who may be new to us, we're a women's leadership development company. And actually, we do more and more leadership development for men, women, people of all ages as our model, grows and evolves over time. And on Fridays, we do these Facebook Live broadcasts just to share what's on our minds. Today, you can tell it's a little unique. The three of us who are here in the Chicago area, we're together because we were actually doing a business planning day. So we decided to pop on as a group. And Francisca is joining us from the Netherlands. So hi, Francisca.
Hi there.
I know, it feels like a little unbalanced, but I think it's all good. And today's topic, we decided we would talk about letting go. So a lot of times in the growth and development and leadership development space, occasionally you will get that piece of advice, like there's something you have to let go of, whether it's letting go of control, letting go of an idea, letting go of something that you feel like really attached to. But Francisca, I think you were the one who said, what does that even mean? And I also think the other question is, as leaders, when do you hang on and when do you let go? Like sometimes you also hear that a wise leader knows when to just stay the course and hold a vision and hang on to something, even if others don't see it. And that provides direction and momentum over time. Yet at the same time, we all have witnessed either ourselves or other people hang on too tightly or too long. So that's what we're talking about. Francisca, I know that you had some interest in this topic, and do you want to say anything else about that idea of like what does it really mean, or when you feel like you've gotten that advice?
Yeah, I like what you say, that the other part, the opposite of letting go is hanging on to. So what do you keep as your focus? And it's an interesting journey for me this year. At the beginning of the year, I got a coaching session, and the essence of that coaching session was for me to let go of. And I had an idea of what it ought to be, both in my work and also in my private life. And more, I have come to discover that it's not so much the thing to let go of, like the project to let go of, or the orientation to let go of, or the relationship to let go of. But it's more like the beliefs that I have about it, to let go of those. And that was quite an insightful event. It may be very obvious now we get to talk about it, but it's always there is always a difference between the theory of knowing and understand the context and understand what we are talking about, and actually having the life experience. So where I could have perhaps made a great presentation on letting go in January, the actually physical, bodily, or going through it, working my way through it, has been very insightful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's true. Like conceptually, it feels like one thing, but then as you're really trying to do it, what does it take? What does it look like in day-to-day?
Yeah. And letting go and hanging on, for me, it relates to a certain context or a situation where perhaps together you want to move into a certain direction. And we also usually operate from a shared value system or belief system, where we have grown into certain habits or ways to talk with each other about solving problems. But it comes then to a moment where the current systems of values, of principles, what we are looking at, it's no longer possible to find a solution or a direction within that context. So we need to evolve together to the next higher level of context. And this it happened last week on the previous weekend, where with a group of people we dove into the work around the spiral dynamics. And I'm still not an expert on spiral dynamics, but I was very inspired by learning again about spiral dynamics, and I'm motivated also to dive into that more deeply, because that addresses exactly that we make our plans, we solve our problems together from a certain state of consciousness, or the other word is certain belief system, and we go a long way, but that system comes to its end, and then we need to let go of that system. And what then are we grasping onto? And that need not be a very practical question immediately. It's more, I think, a conceptual question at first, but it's quite a journey. Then what is then the next? What's the next true north? And whether that be on an individual basis or on a group basis, on a team basis. I think the concept of finding your new true north and the new environment for that is an interesting journey, and it seems very valid at the moment. We hear a lot of talks about the energy is changing and big change is coming. But then what?
Right.
What is it about?
Exactly. Like sometimes there's a space between the letting go and
Yeah.
there needs to be, and before you can actually find your next true north, and we can be uncomfortable in that space too. So this little pause between letting go of something and then knowing where your next point of focus or direction is it's a cool time, but it's can be a little disconcerting as well.
I also think sometimes when people say to you, you just need to let go of that, it's really in service of them, not you.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. So I think sometimes
The way you said that.
well,
It's like the tone of it.
well, but that's sometimes how you hear it. It's like we pause and we think, well, do I? And then it's like, wait a minute, who is this in service of?
What I hear you describing, and Peg's example is a little bit also, but it's like there's the head and then there's the body of the words.
Right.
And so you should let go of that. Maybe it's time for you to let go.
Yeah.
Like that's flipped to me. That's like, so you're sick of me hearing it, right?
Right.
And so, that's kind of the head, but what you're describing is more like embodying it. Like I've taken this as far as I can, and now there has to be something else, not knowing what that is.
Mm-hmm.
It's, when, the monkey bars, I once heard it described as when you're swinging, when monkeys swing through the jungle, there's a moment where they're actually not holding on to either one.
Mm-hmm.
They've let go and they have not grabbed the next. I'm not sure if that's true for trapeze artists. I think it might be.
It is true.
So that's the moment I hear Betsy and Francisco, you guys, moving, is that's scary on a lot.
That is a scary moment. The longer you think about it, the scarier it gets.
Don't think about it.
But I also think that there's a consciousness here that says, when we're talking about this kind of letting go, it's when we've had that realization in some way for ourselves, and we're now, it gets posed as a question. Is that something I need to let go of? Should I let go of that? And you're in that contemplation, which you've been describing, Francisca. And then we may say, yes, you know what, that actually makes sense. And then we're in that moment of, okay, I let go of that. What else am I moving towards?
Right.
In that pause, like, what else am I considering? How else am I going to move forward?
Right.
What else am I going to grab onto?
Mm-hmm.
I've had a recent example where I could practice pretty well with this letting go thing, because I have recently put my condo for sale in Chicago on the market for sale. And so as I was prepping it for sale at a different point in the process, I would really be focused on, here are the things that I have to do, here are my intentions, here are the goals. Like I would create a pretty clear vision and be really connected with why I was doing it and what I wanted the outcome to be. But then there was a point where I just knew I had to just stop. Like let the realtor do their work, let the buyers show up. And even in terms of looking at the next place I want to go, like it felt like there's a point where it feels good to be like, okay, I'm gaining data, I'm getting clarity, here's the picture. But then I could feel where I would tip over into like obsessing. about like, well, which neighborhood and is it going to be available and when's my place going to sell? But oh, now is a moment where I just need to let go. I need to trust. I mean, surrender is another word that you hear sometimes. So it's very interesting because in this little, month or 6-week process, I could really feel that ebb and flow of like, okay, I'm creating a vision. I have an intention that I'm clear about. Now I'm letting go. And now it's like, oh, now it's time to create clarity. Now I'm letting go. And so I feel like it's also an internal radar system that we can develop around. No, it does feel good to hold a vision. It does feel good to stay the course. But then when do you tip over and you can tell you're holding on to something and now you're resisting change. You're not accepting the current state around you. You're holding something in place that needs to be moved past. And it's also part of that like internal guidance system, inner knowing or instinct.
Yes. I think for me, like if I were to say, when do I know? Like, where's that tipping point internally for myself? It's kind of like cutting vegetables. When I'm cutting vegetables, I've got a really tense face. I mean, if you ever watched these who have seen me in the kitchen, it's not a pretty sight, but I'm like so nervous about cutting vegetables that I'm like really tense. Like you couldn't pry that knife out of my hand if you tried. My jaw's tight, like the whole thing. And I don't know how many times I tell myself, relax, you're just cutting a vegetable. But it's that feeling, that tense feeling that I have. Like if I find myself doing that, either spinning on action, spinning on worry, or just being really intense or tight about it, that's a pretty good clue that, okay, you're not allowing in this situation. You aren't really letting go and being curious. You're attached here. You're trying to force it to come.
Having a deep grip.
A death grip.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are beautiful signs that we use by being aware of what happens in the body, the tensity, and by being aware what happens emotionally wise, and then also thought wise. Those are all great clues indeed, as you say, Beth, and signs that we are holding on too tight to something. And I love what you say, Betsy, about having that clarity and made a decision of selling your condo, having a clear focus there, and at the same time combining or integrating that with a letting go of that too much of that attachment. And when you describe, when I heard you describe, and the tone of your voice were so close to that state of presence, like where all those signals that we just talked about are just not present. Mm-hmm. That state of presence where we can be in the moment with anything that happens, in the flow, anywhere it goes. So, and that is a great clue that we are on the right path towards our true north and the next step.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I also think that sometimes the people we work with, the leaders, they don't mean to be controlling per se, but that there's a lot that they care about. There's a lot of ideas they have. So even when you run into a state of like, why do I have to do everything myself? Like if you're somebody in your life, like, why do I have to do everything myself? Why can't anybody get anything done? Why, whatever, and you're having trouble around the delegating, around trusting your team, that's another place to look at this in a very practical way, which is, why am I not letting things go? Can I let things go? Is it an internal thing that I'm keeping things stuck? Right. Or is it really like a practical thing where I need to figure out systemically how I can let things go? But I bring that up because like the not letting go can actually sometimes sabotage a goal someone has. Like you can accomplish less. You're more burnt out, you're more exhausted. So there are those kinds of signs to look for too, to see if what's happening in your system, such that you feel like you can't let go, yet you're saying you want a different experience in your team, or you want a different experience in your life.
Yep. We were just talking, one of the teams we work with in our high potential women's leadership development programs, we were talking about focus. And in my mind, I'm hearing the focus, and we use these focus rods, that actually allow you to get tuned into your own energy. So where is my energy right now, right? And so the realization in that exercise is that you actually realize, oh my gosh, I do control it.
Yes.
Like good thoughts, I control. My energy looks this way. Negative or bad thoughts, constricting energy, it looks a different way. And so the first aha is that people actually recognize, oh, I can control it. And then the other tool that we use, which is really great as a 1-2 here, is Stephen Covey's circle of influence. Because when you tie what we're talking about here, and then the focus, is my focus on the concern, or is my focus on what I can influence?
Yeah.
We bring ourselves to a choice point, and that's what I really
because you let go of the concern and the worry, and you keep your attention on the point of focus or the outcome,
which feels way more empowering. And to your point, Francisca, that's the moment of choice.
Yeah.
And it came from where you put your focus and how you were managing your own awareness, your own energy at that point.
Yeah.
And sometimes also the need to have, in the letting go, it's not that something won't happen or won't get done, but letting go of it having to look exactly the way you think it should look or exactly the way you would do it. I think part of what, to your point, Betsy, about the delegation piece is that people want to delegate, but then they aren't willing to relax around the idea that somebody else might even have a better way of doing it. There might even be a better outcome because they're really attached to it having to be the way they're accustomed to doing it.
Right. Here's the form of delegation we're not talking about. I'm going to delegate this to you. Here's exactly how I'd like you to do it. This is exactly how I'd like it to look.
Directing.
That's
exactly. Being directive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
My other favorite story about letting go is the story about Beth when she was younger. It's my favorite one. No, I know, it's hilarious. It's the carrot one. So like when she was newly married, she and her husband were planting a garden, as like idealist young people do. And they planted all these carrots. And so Beth, when the carrots were like just little and starting to grow, she would go out there and pull them up to see if they were growing.
Because you couldn't see them, right?
No, yeah. Very annoying.
That to me is like always a thing of like you plant the seed and then you have to let it go. I mean, you still have to tune into like, oh, does it need water? Does it need sunlight? Like whatever.
Yes.
But like not letting it go and actually digging up the seeds you planted does have progress.
Well, it did have a touch progress. My husband was really funny because he actually he thought they were very smart rabbits in the yard into the spot. And he's like, what is happening here? And then I say, oh, I pulled those up. I wanted to see how much they were growing. He's like, well, then you can't put them back in. And I said, well, I'm obviously a city dweller and not a farmer. So I won't do that anymore.
And that still exists because we looked in your yard yesterday.
We did.
And we were looking to see, why aren't these peppers growing? Why aren't these tomatoes growing? What's going on here?
Let it go.
Let it go. Well, let it go means, in this scenario, let it go means trust.
Yeah, exactly.
And some of that's knowledge. Like I truly didn't know. Like I remember this was probably about the same time we were driving down the highway and I saw these pumpkins laying in the field. And I said to my husband, why would they like scare pumpkins like that? And he just looked at me like, you realize that's how pumpkins grow. And I'm like, I didn't. He's like, how can you be so smart? I'm like, I'm just not smart in this way.
But you at the grocery store, everything is there. You don't always exactly how it got there.
So I'm only bringing that up, not so you could all chuckle at me, but
that's why I brought it up.
Exactly. When we talk about trust, there are things you can do. Yes, you have to trust, but you also, Betsy, to your point, like you have to take action too. So maybe I should learn a little bit about how carrots grow. Maybe I should, like what are the things that are within my control that I should actually learn to do or be on top of? And then the things that are out of my control, really, what else is there to do but trust?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Last month my son was getting married in Oklahoma, which you all know because you were there. And in the States, Oklahoma is known as like Tornado Alley. So at a certain part of the year, just one tornado after another whips through this part of the country. And that was what they were experiencing. And someone said to me, are you watching the weather? They're getting so many tornadoes. And I joked and I said, actually, the weather's not in my job description for this wedding. So no, I'm not watching it. I'm sure it'll be beautiful, whatever it's going to be. And, you know, and just, you know, like that was a clear thing. Like that is out of my control. I can't control the weather. You know? So it's easy like that. And we know, oh, I can't control that.
Mm-hmm.
Where it gets tricky is thinking we can control things that we can't.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
Yeah.
What other wisdom here? Letting go.
The thing I would leave.
Where's the Frozen song here?
Yeah, right. I think I would leave people with what you just said around knowing when you, like putting your focus on what you can control and letting go of what you can't. But I think the thing I would say, my last thing is just, it's okay to let stuff go too.
Right.
Like I think so many of us are so worried about letting a ball drop or disappointing others or failing or whatever that little thing might be. But you know what? Sometimes it really is just okay to let it go and not do it or not do anything for a whole day or declare you're never going to fix a squeaky door. Like, I don't know what the thing is, but just, we don't have to do everything. We don't have to keep everything on a to-do list. We don't have to hold the energy of everything like it's on our shoulders.
Yeah.
And it really is okay just to set down some burdens, trust that what will get done will get done, and choose that point of focus for yourself in your life and not hold everything for everybody. So that's the last thing I would really.
Yeah.
Acquired wisdom in some respects, but the sooner you acquire it, the easier life is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I like to hear that, Betsy, and it brings me to what I would like to leave people with is that if you are too focused on this thing of letting go, yes or no, and what and so forth, then get to talk to someone from your community who knows you well and is there to lift you up and help you gain your clarity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's easy to
We
get.
can ask for help. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
for
to
sure.
your point, break the cycle.
Right.
Yeah, letting go of wanting things to solve yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I think I would leave with one of our favorite questions because a lot of people don't let go because they're stuck in the I don't know what else to do.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the favorite questions we ask ourselves and, you know, our clients is, but what if you did know what to do? What would you tell yourself if you did know what to do? And that, you know, is kind of like people look at you like, but I just said I don't. I know, but if you did, and it forces what you, I think, started talking about, Francisca, about getting out of the loop that you're in to a level to start to see things. So what if you did know?
Yeah, my other version of that is, what would you tell someone else?
Mm-hmm.
How would you advise a best friend who came to you with this issue?
Yeah.
This from you?
Yep, that's it.
All right, great.
Good.
All right,
So
guys.
let it go, people.
Yeah.
Let it go. It's weekend.
So once again, we are Tiara International. If you like tuning into this, you can follow our Facebook page. We're here on Fridays, and then the recordings are on our Facebook page under videos. Or you can subscribe to our YouTube channel where we put these once they're recorded every week. So thanks for following along. And we do hope you let go a little bit wherever you are, whatever day it is for you, and just enjoy that feeling for the rest of your day. So thank you. Thanks for joining us, Francisca.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me. Have a good rest of the meeting.
Yeah. Thank you.
Don't let go.
Okay.
Yay.